What's going on, guys? It's Oddish here, and today I want to talk about something. At this point, the topic has been discussed pretty extensively, and it's not something I really wanted to get involved with making a video on just because of everything going on around it, but, either way, here we are, right? Honestly, it's just been a frustrating thing to see happen, and it's almost like watching a villain origin story arc, you know what I mean? What I'm referring to, if you're confused by the title or you haven't heard of any of these people before, is a situation that, one, doesn't need to exist, but the extent of ignorance and pride really knows no bounds, and two, is a complete and total epitome of what actual tantrum-swinging man-children can accomplish when there's little else than automated systems and corporate speak in charge of things happening outside the scope of what people choose to share on YouTube. QuantumTV versus literally anyone making fun of him about his ridiculously over-the-top shit take on a game that he wasn't good at. Now, that game was Elden Ring. The shit take was about Elden Ring. And if you want, I'll insert this here.
So I would say this game is for somebody who really is looking for a sandbox. They have no family, no friends, no life.
And don't get me wrong, it's completely okay to have your own opinion. Absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But commonsensically, there's almost always a clear differentiation in an agreeable opinion and one that is just bad or one that is clearly just wrong. QuantumTV's opinion is just wrong, and his attitude about the subject in its entirety is wrong. Now, I want to preface the rest of what I'm going to say with A, you don't need to like a game because everyone else does, or force yourself to like a game for that reason, or have a change in opinion because the majority doesn't share the one that you have. And B, nobody should be able to physically assault you or, for lack of a better term, drag you online every chance that they get because you don't agree with them. However, people should retain the right to tell someone that they're being a bitch if they are indeed being a bitch. Now, I just want to touch on some things that are going to be relevant later on in the video and some things that need to be addressed now.
You die, you lose everything you collected.
You don't lose everything that you've collected when you died. You lose your runes, and they are 1,000% retrievable anytime you die. You don't lose any items upon death unless you count the sacrificial twigs, which you lose if you choose to use them instead of losing the opportunity to get your runes back. Now, this guy I think mentioned a couple times that the game's meant to be a sandbox and is an open world, but in his opinion, the world's too open with no reason for it to be that way.
Most of your time in the open world is spent just like running around kinda aimlessly. If I'm being honest, it's one of those games where it's so spread out, the map is so big, you're gonna spend a lot of time running around in a very open field that doesn't necessarily have a particular purpose for being that open.
There's a lot that's left to your own interpretation or your own imagination. So the world being open, kind of, in my opinion, think about what could have been in like this area. I don't know. At least that's how I play the games. But either way, there is a lot to do in the open world.
Spoiling any parts of the story, which is lackluster by the way, I think that will be as honest as anyone's going to be about this product.
But you know what? I will say that the way the story's presented isn't for everyone. Because you need to be a sleuth and you need to seek the story out for yourself of whatever hasn't been presented to you at face value from NPC cutscenes and stuff like that. And you kind of have to put it all together, and some things, well, a lot of things are left to your imagination. Now, the last thing I want to mention before I move on and play his second tantrum, because yes, he did release a second video following up of the first one. Notice how he's in the business of insulting people from the very start. This is going to be an important little tidbit. I'm going to need you to kind of put a pin in that for a few minutes, but we will get back to it. The only thing that I will say for the time being is that notice in this screenshot how he's insulting this guy. He's actually a kid. He's a minor, at least at the time that he kind of responded to this video, and this is more or less what blew the whole situation up. But notice how QuantumTV uses passive-aggressive, demeaning terms like calm down kid or sit down or know your place, and says these things in a way that makes it seem like he has superiority over this person. But if you thought the first part of his tantrum was great, check this out.
So as you guys know, I did a review on Elden Ring. That didn't go very well apparently for some people. So I'm receiving some backlash now that I wanted to address with some of you, because a lot of you are not only being childish, but I don't think you're actually seeing this objectively. The thing that really pisses me off is all these fucking fans of this game know that the graphical issues are there. I come home from work, I'm trying to unwind, I'm trying to relax. I'm not trying to sit there stressed out on some fucking game, yelling at the screen, trying to hashtag
get good.
Because that's like this mentality that all you guys have kind of gotten submitted into. You guys literally sound like abuse victims, right? like you're in a really shitty relationship and that's just how it is, man. You know, you just take it on the chin, man.
Now, comparing one extreme to something that's not extreme does not validate your point.
You shouldn't be saying that's how it is, or, you know, we just know that that's how these games are.
But that's how it is, and that's just how these games are.
Not for everyone. A game that's not for everyone isn't a game that should be made, in my opinion. Games are supposed to be fun, transcend the reality that we have right now.
Fun is subjective, and the game just is not fun for you and people like you who are ignorant and don't want to learn how the game is to be played.
Could do in the real world without consequence and be accessible to anyone regardless of experience level. Because the reality is, if it wasn't so ridiculously hard and you had the thrill of dying a bunch of times, it's really a lackluster game with shitty graphics.
I've seen people with no arms play Dark Souls. I've seen somebody beat the game using a banana. I'm pretty sure I saw somebody play with a Guitar Hero controller, and I'm pretty sure I've seen somebody use the Donkey Kong bongos. The game is accessible to everyone, you're just bad at it, and you don't like the fact that you picked up a game for the first time and you suck.
Of course, when you go to the community as a new gamer, you would think, right, as a gamer, you'd have people being welcoming. I had maybe 5 people in the whole comment thread. Like, hey man, you know, let's do those bosses together, I'll help you out. You know, only 5 people. The rest of them were like, oh, you're a clown, you've lost credibility, it's demeaning.
I have no family, no friends, no life.
To a game that's known, by the way, for being incredibly fucking difficult. And it's your fault, not the dev's fault for not thinking of every single player of all kinds of walks of life.
Have a great night. I'll see y'all. Whoa! I'll see y'all when I can. And GG. Like, yeah, it's so different when you actually can do damage, y'all. Well, that's the run. Dark Souls the bananas actually made it through.
They don't care. It's a challenge, and it has to be for players who think every game is fucking easy, and if you aren't one of those players, then you are a scumbag, you filthy casual. At the end of the day, go kill yourself, man. At the end of the day, go kill yourself, man. I'm not gonna sit here and, like, be demeaned and talked down to because I don't enjoy a shit fest of a game where your misunderstanding is. But hopefully by explaining this to you, I can maybe kind of smooth out your aggression and your backlash. Again, nothing against you. It's not a personal attack. At the end of the day, go kill yourself, man. You like what you like, but it is childish to look at somebody and say that, you know, you're X, Y, and Z because you don't like the video game.
At the end of the day, go kill yourself, man.
Now, Dark Souls 1 was the first Souls game I ever played, and I fucking hated it. I didn't get it, and I didn't play a game like that before. Enter Dark Souls 2. My cousin, who to be fair is kind of retarded, has told me for years how much he loves the Souls games and how he's beaten them all, and he gets me thinking, okay, if this goofy fuck can play these games, I can definitely play and beat these games. So I pick up Dark Souls 2, I got Scholar of the First Sin edition, and literally from the second I heard Majula's music, I was hooked. And I still love Dark Souls 2. Finding out about the king and seeing the main story progress and putting the clues together, seeing what the castle kind of turned into, it was just an amazing experience. I went into it with an open mind, I did my research because we're in the 21st century and I can literally Google anything in 2 seconds if I need help, tips, or general information, and I had one of the best gaming experiences of my gaming career. And again, to be completely fair, as much as I enjoy it and the millions of other people enjoy that style of game, that still doesn't mean it's for everyone. Whether or not I or you or anyone feels like that person may be doing themselves a disservice by not even trying to get good at the game. But you see, the difference in what I said and what QuantumTV said,
at the end of the day, go kill yourself, man,
is that I said something in a way that can resonate with someone else, instead of blatantly insulting the developers, fans, and the general FromSoft community, and just regular people who enjoy this style of game. Now, I want to go back to that thing that we talked about putting a pin in, and delve a little bit deeper by discussing how not only is QuantumTV known for lashing out, but he's also known for making bigoted and hateful remarks about the LGBTQ community and people he just doesn't like. For instance, in this post, he mentions that he wishes one user was a Pulse shooting victim. Now, Pulse was a gay nightclub that unfortunately had somebody go in there and specifically aim to shoot, injure, or kill people of the gay community. The one train this guy decides to ride, aside from promoting murder and hate crimes, is how because a creator of a game decided to include gay characters is somehow bigotry toward non-gay gamers, and then proceeds to make bigoted comments towards the LGBTQ community again. He also mentions typical bigoted things like the comparison of not having a straight flag, but there's a gay one. And if I could just quickly point out that anytime these questions have been asked, it has been by racists racists or bigots. It's the same thing with the Black Lives Matter movement, people comparing how saying white pride, a term used in tandem with the discrimination, torture, murder, and otherwise horrendous treatment of the African American race for hundreds of years, and continues to be prevalent to this day, should be acceptable, but for some reason we need to support black people's rights like it's some kind of foreign thing to, not murder people or treat them differently because their skin is a different color than yours. I'd like to think that I'm someone who frequently, and sometimes to my detriment, tells it like it is. And I'll be the first to tell you that there have been times where corporations have pushed this faux equality when it's convenient and they just need to pad their profits. And that's the thing that I and many other consumers with common sense, not just of gaming, hate. It's the aura around it. It's the underlying sales pitch behind the mask of supporting the rights of someone to live a normal life. And it's unacceptable. I'm sorry if I see past it and only see the commercial with someone who's transgender, gay, black, or whatever as them being paraded around like a sideshow monkey with their tin can out to make the conglomerate more money. It's disgusting. If it was genuine, these corporate suits would make a commercial with their branding of them sitting there just in a chair, plain black background, and showing their support directly from their mouths with no sales pitch involved, saying like, hey, I, Captain fucking Covergirl, or Joe Ferrari, support black people's right to live and think it's utterly disgusting that in the year 2022, we're killing people in the street for their sexual orientation, personal choices, or the skin on their bones. But they don't, and they won't, because it has a potential to hurt their bottom line. And it's not just corporations, it's our population in general. We as people, when something isn't convenient enough for everyone to stand up for, nobody stands up for it at all. But I digress. I don't want to go down that road. This is about QuantumTV, and after his bigoted statements came to light, he made a video, or a general response to the equivalent of someone stole my phone, or haha, I didn't mean to text you last night, I was so drunk, when confronted by some girl you finally found the courage to flirt with and she denies you. He went with the good old I was hacked. I have no idea how this happened.
Say his account was supposedly hacked. There's something which doesn't quite add up here. Along with that, the supposed fake accounts he's referring to, aka his own personal Twitter account, was directly fucking linked on his YouTube account before he tried to bullshit his way out of this, as seen through the Wayback Machine, something that you cannot edit. It only shows you the page you saved with no way to edit them.
But then after he claimed he was hacked, it was then revealed that after his terrible opinion video, he says that he just hasn't used that Twitter in ages. Almost as if to imply that that's not how he feels or speaks anymore, yet still lacks the self-awareness to commit to the lie and just say that, which maybe would have lessened the severity of the things he said with at least a feigned apology of any kind. But no, he doesn't. He does what liars usually do, and he tries to minimize and detach himself from whatever the issue is at hand. On top of all this, there's also Facebook posts from QuantumTV saying the same bigoted statements towards game devs and random tangents towards other Facebook users, and more or less calls for the assault of someone in the LGBTQ community for sending him mean messages. More than that, he also calls Zoe Kravitz, who is Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet's daughter, and the actress in Catwoman, a half-breed. Now, anyone who was sentient enough in the mid to late 90s knows Lisa Bonet, and they know Lenny Kravitz. Lenny Kravitz is half African American, half Russian and Jewish, and his wife Lisa Bonet's mother was Jewish and her father was African American. So with that said, I don't think he was calling Zoe Kravitz a half-breed because she's half cat, half woman. When you put pins in all these things and you kind of do your detective work and you connect all the dots, it's not hard to follow that this person has a serious history of lashing out and just saying bigoted and clearly racist things. Now, the real cherry on this shit cake is that this dude even called Actman's mom. If I haven't mentioned before, Actman was another person involved with this, covering QuantumTV and his absolute shit take. But yes, he also decided to call this man's mom in sub-mob mentality, making you an offer you can't refuse, we live in a society, Joker, villain, fedora hat, nothing personal kid move, and passive-aggressively threatening her, implying that he knew their addresses and their other personal information, apparently knew Actman's brother's address or name, all because he didn't like that his shit take was called out for being a shit take.
Well, he finished the video, maybe took a nice shit, maybe got himself a little snack, and then called my mom.
And so, like, what did he say to your mom that made you feel like it was a threat, besides the fact of just contacting her in the first place, which, in my opinion, is completely over the line?
Yeah, it was kind of just like intimidation tactics, and the way he was talking to her is just like, anytime I was like, man, should I press through with this Dark Age of YouTube video? I went back and I would just listen to the way that he talked to my mom, and I would just get this fire inside me like, fuck it, I'm gonna work 14 hours on this video today.
I'll just say that as I watched this situation kind of unfold and become what it turned out to be, or is continuing to be, I had several theories. And I just want to make a disclaimer that I'm going to be making a reference here to autism, and it isn't in any way meant to be discriminatory or degrading to anyone with autism. I kind of hate that I have to, like, red tape this shit or whatever, but that's just the time that we live in. But one of my theories was that this guy was just super in character, right? QuantumTV was playing that ironic, but back to unironic, satirical character who says shit so over the top, but does it with such a straight face that you don't know that they're not being serious, and that's kind of where the comedy comes from. But since the situation has escalated this far, we can kind of rule that out, right? We can put a finger down on that one. The second theory was, okay, maybe this guy, and again, please remember my prior disclaimer, but maybe he's on a spectrum, right? Because he seems like someone who speaks fluently and eloquently, and he seems high functioning and speaks as though he's intelligent, but he just lacks complete and total self-awareness in this social situation, and really thinks that his mannerisms and his demeanor is acceptable. The wild things that he's saying and has said should be put on a pedestal like it's some profound thing that he's done. He's so certain that what he's saying is right and refuses, either willfully or otherwise, to see that he's wrong. Personally, I've worked with adults that have special needs. Some were completely helpless and they needed constant care and attention. They couldn't do much of anything for themselves. And others were high functioning and you wouldn't know to look at them that they were someone who required or were in need of some kind of special care. Those men and women who were high functioning had a hard time or just couldn't read or understand other people's emotions. And if they did something that, was inappropriate or wrong, in response to being reprimanded or spoken to, they wouldn't react with an appropriate emotional response. And something like Asperger's specifically has these attributes. Now, the third theory was that QuantumTV is just acting like a giant man-baby bitch. And he can't own up to the fact that his opinion is just wrong, his take was wrong, and he's deserving of any backlash he got from flat out insulting a community of people that enjoy something he isn't good at and that he doesn't understand. This guy's the kind of person that will step away from the keyboard after talking shit online all day and saying all these hateful things, and he'll go outside and eventually he's going to be one of those people that gets just knocked the fuck out. And I'm not saying to do it. I don't want anyone to go hurt this guy, but it's people like him that once they step away from the keyboard, they either don't say these things to people in general, or they do it because no one's ever hit them before. But people with this mentality, like QuantumTV, don't think that anyone's ever going to say anything to them. And he's also the kind of person who abuses systems put in place to protect legitimate content creators. And when you look at this situation, you can see who's on the side of right and who's on the side of wrong. It's one of those things where if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, probably a fucking duck. And this guy is just a huge douchebag. He got himself into a situation he couldn't handle. He tried to backpedal out of it. Then he doubled down. Now all he's really doing is causing problems for everyone else involved in the situation, because he can't just man up and say, you know what I said was wrong, but this game just isn't for me. He also could have just kept his fucking mouth shut, but he wanted to be a certain way, he wanted to feel superior, and he wanted to pick on people that he thought weren't going to say anything back to him. But simply put, man, QuantumTV, you're just wrong, dude. Accept the fact that you're wrong. Accept that you got your feelings hurt. Accept the fact that your take was shit. And just move on. But that's just my opinion on it, and nobody probably cares, but I had a lot of fun making this video, and if you guys liked it, please feel free to drop a like, drop a subscription, and if you do, hit the bell so you're notified first next time I upload a video. And leave a comment. Tell me what you like or you didn't like or what you would like to see me cover next. But until the next one, guys, peace.